guys, gals, and non-binary pals? What's up and welcome to Hidden Brilliance. I am Java, your host and performer who happens to be neurodiverse and on the autism spectrum. This podcast is a podcast that is great. It shines a light on individuals who are neurodiverse and on the spectrum. And it shows the unique journeys of those who went through so much being neurodiverse and on the autism spectrum. So I have two guests with me right now, Danny and April. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
How you doing, everybody? My name is Danny, and I'm a DJ. I run my own DJ company, and when I'm not DJing, I'm your run-of-the-mill tech junkie.
Hi guys, my name is April Lewis. I'm a school social worker, a behavior technician, and an advocate for all. I am so excited to be here to help support Javanice, our wonderful host, and her vision with this podcast.
I am so excited to be here, guys. In this episode, we're going to be exploring my journey, but throughout, we're going to be exploring tons of journeys, what makes us the best that we have been today, like people who are neurodiverse or on the spectrum, the things that we need. We're going to break down myths, we're going to get some truths, we're going to break down some stereotypes, and we are going to bring in actors, musicians, performers, anyone who is like in that music field also to be a part of this, and so that we could all speak on stuff. So yeah. Now we are going to get into the terms. Well, no, more of like the definition of neurodiversity and autism. Would you guys like to read those out?
Sure. What is neurodiversity? I know that's a huge word, so let's get into it. Neurodiversity is a current label used to describe and generalize a community of individuals with neurological differences, such as autism, ADHD, and other cognitive variations. The term is used to recognize diversity among people. Instead of viewing differences as deficits or disorders, the neurodiversity perspective views individuals as normal, ordinary people with the variation in the human brain. This term is used as an approach to emphasize the strengths and unique contributions of neurodiverse individuals, advocating for inclusion and acceptance. It aims to celebrate diverse ways of thinking and experiencing the world. Acceptance is key. Danny?
Hey, thank you for that. And I know you mentioned autism, but what is autism? Autism is characterized as a delay in development. Most people that are characterized as autistic have a special way of handling the day-to-day lives of everyday normal social conditions, the way they process any type of behavior, their learning patterns. They don't accept everything as is. Some people will gravitate towards being quiet and being antisocial, or being, forward outward. And with that, they have special ways of dealing with from going from mild reactions to severe. But all in all, it's just the way they process it. It's not as easy as it is for an everyday common folk. But, with time, they do get better, they progress, and that's why we have Java here.
Yeah. Thank you, both of you, so much for explaining both of those big terms. Personally, I use the term neurodiverse. I love it. I love the term because of how, now society and what people are doing is they're trying to include everyone, and that's a great thing I've been seeing now. Though I usually just say that I have autism. I do say neurodiverse, but I just like to be mindful, because neurodiversity, or saying that I identify as neurodiverse, it's such a broad category. And being neurodiverse can mean so many things. Just when you really think about it, it just means different in the brain. You're not typical. But that doesn't always mean the same thing for everyone. So for me, as someone who has autism, it's different. So what the things that I may need might be different than someone who has ADHD. So just saying I'm neurodiverse, um, it's not gonna help all the things, like get all the things that I need to make me my best self and just to function in everyday life. So, for example, performers or just individuals who have autism, they need something more calming, to kind of help them regulate. So, for example, like every day, I do not go a day without my headphones, and it's something I use every day in the morning to just calm down when I'm anxious, because I do have anxiety. Though that's the needs that I have. But with someone who has ADHD, they might need like a more high energy source or accommodations to kind of help them regulate. So, performers or those who have ADHD might need a different outlet. Like they might need to run, or they might need to get all their energy out. They might need to shout. Some performers who have ADHD might need to, get all hyped up. They might need to be like, "Hey, what's up?" But for certain performers who have autism, they kind of go in their own zone. They kind of step away and they just woo-saw. They think about their character. They think about getting in that mindset, in that zone. But understanding what two different people need and two different groups need can help everyone. But if everyone just says that they're neurodiverse, that's not going to help me be my best self, and that's not going to help the other person be their best self, because that's just saying that everyone's the same. When in the end, we're not all the same. We might have similar things that could connect us, like neurodiversity is something that is connecting us because we're different, but we're not all the same. And, sometimes I want to have, equality like everyone else. But equality doesn't always mean equal. I might need different things to help me thrive as compared to someone else.
When it comes to performing, where do you stand on
What do I do?
neurodiversity? What is your go-to default action? Like you said, people need to be hyped up. Some people are
Some
closed
people
in.
need to be hyped up.
Where do you stand?
For me, um, I a lot of times, so I just did a show recently in May, where my character was a very heavy character, and I'm a very method kind of performer. So in order for me to kind of regulate and calm down, because I get a lot of nerves before a show begins, um, I put on my headphones. I just kind of, there are some times where I'm a little more sociable, but I'm still in my own mindset, and I just stay away. I sat in my chair and I just put on my headphones. I listened to the playlist that I created for my character, because I actually I had a whole Spotify playlist for this character, just so I could get into that mindset of like, oh, this is me. I'm this character now. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna regulate. Have my headphones, just sitting there, and yeah, that's how I do it. Um,
When you keep mentioning you wear your headphones, I've seen where autistic children wear headphones because they're sensitive to sound.
mhm.
What role does the headphones, when you put them on, play for you? Is it a sensory thing for you,
Um,
or is it something to just keep block out the outside world?
I just do it to block out things. I used to be sensitive to sound, like I used to hate the sound of fire truck passing by or something, but for me, it's really just to get all of that out, like the other sound out, because I could get very almost overstimulated when there are a lot of things happening around me with sound. It's not that I'm sound sensitive, but it's just more of I need to focus, and just having those headphones on and having this going on blocks everything else out.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Earlier, you talked about accommodations. How do you convey your accommodations to, let's say, when you're performing, or if you're taking a class, or you're at a family gathering?
Um, well, for class, I have something like an IEP, meetings where people come together. There are those who are neurodivergent or people who are on the autism spectrum. They have like a group of people that help them get those accommodations that they need in school. Like usually for someone typical, they might all have a certain deadline, but some of my teachers were amazing and flexible that they would give me extra time, and I was grateful enough to have those accommodations. And I had an amazing mother who helped me advocate sometimes when I needed it. But now that I've started to grow and speak out, now that I can, and now that I have that confidence to and that drive, um, I'll sometimes say, hey, I might need this. How much time do I have for this? Could I have a little more for this? And I get those accommodations. Um, and then for certain gatherings, sometimes I just have to just tell people what I need. Um, Sometimes I'll just explain certain things to family or friends, like if I just need a minute, or if sometimes anytime I'm in the car with family, they're playing their own music on the radio, and sometimes just to relax for an outing, or to feel the vibe before I'm with everyone, I put on my headphones even though there's everyone else in the car with me. Um, yeah, sometimes I just need that moment for myself before so I could be calm and interact with people. So I need to get all this energy here so that I could focus on what's going on around me.
Okay. I had another question.
Yeah.
What is your biggest misconception for people who are diagnosed with autism and are in the neurodiversity community?
The biggest conception is that someone who has autism has a specific look. This is something that is very common, at least for me, that I feel needs to be discussed. Um, so, anytime I'm open about my autism, because I don't have certain physical characteristics that people look for, like, let's say, like drooling or stimming, or different signs of excitement, because a lot of people who are on the autism spectrum show different ways of excitement, of emotion. Um, but when I told my friend recently, because, I'm starting to be more open about it, and I told him about the podcast, and he was like, well, you don't look autistic, or he just never thought, because you don't act like that, or I don't act like that, or I don't look autistic. Well, what does that look like? I mean, I don't have your typical perception or whatever, because a lot of people see it as like, oh, someone who's stimming or is having behaviors, or someone that, because there's also a misconception that we're not intelligent or we're not intellectual, and that is so false. Since there are many, many big figures who are on the autism spectrum. Like, there are many. Like, one, the creator of Pokemon.
Oh, wow.
He's on the autism spectrum, and I found this out recently that I'm actually excited about. It's not always like figures, or sometimes when they try to represent things in TV, like like how they have Hispanic representation, Black representation. SpongeBob is on the autism spectrum. I never knew that until recently. So, yeah, it was confirmed. There's always these hidden signs. It's not always about physical characteristics, but more about like mental and what we need. Because some people, it's very easy for higher functioning people to mask it, but not everyone expresses it the same way. Well, also, I have relatives. I have 3 relatives actually who are on the autism spectrum. One is completely nonverbal. She only uses a tablet to communicate. My other one, he's moderate. You gotta kind of get stuff out of him for him to communicate. And then there's one who's in high school. He never went to a school for those who are who are special needs. And he's doing great. He's got a job. He's doing great with school. He's got friends. Um, but he's still different from me. And there are some things that he might need that I might not need, and I might have things that I need that maybe he doesn't need. So it's on a spectrum. It's on the autism spectrum. It's so much bigger than this small physical perception that a lot of people have. And another example, this was me. Back like a while ago. This was when I started getting. This was after early intervention. I didn't have much eye contact. I stimmed. I had some behaviors. I used to stack up toys in rows. Just the thing I joke about a lot now. Like I used to have like those little Smurfs in the McDonald's bag, and I would just like put the Smurfs in one line. But yeah, I'm completely different from that now, but I still have needs and things. And not everyone is going to look like me, and not everyone's going to have this.
Thank you.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
From what you've been saying so far, it looks like you've overcome a lot of the obstacles that neurodiverse people have to
Yeah.
deal with on a day to day basis. But is there a point in time where you seem to fall back a little bit? Like, do you have you're very upbeat, very peppy, very
Yeah.
happy. But what happens when you're not feeling excited, when you're feeling a bit down?
Yeah.
Does that affect you differently than it would if I'm like, for example, if I'm feeling sad or for something that might be affecting me, would it affect you differently because
Um.
you're letting your guard down and
Yeah.
just giving into to any deficits that you might be facing?
There are a lot of times, even though I've started to, get a friend group, I started going to public school. I'm gonna repeat my senior year actually this September. Um, there are a lot of times where I feel I don't necessarily fit in because I'm still so different. I'm still on the autism spectrum. I'm still neurodiverse, and there are times where people see that difference, and there are a lot of times where people would look down on me or try to take advantage of all this kindness, of all this vulnerability that I have that I gave out.
They don't understand you.
And whenever I feel that, there are times where I wouldn't even understand like I wouldn't even perceive it as mean. I would just see it as odd or weird. There are certain social situations that I wouldn't understand. And anytime I would get really sad, like, oh, like I feel like I don't fit in because I'm too high functioning. And then there was a time where I went part time to another school, and because I was going part time public school, private school, and I always felt like I didn't fit in one because I was too high functioning for the lower functioning students at the school that I went to, the private school, and then in public school, I I still felt like I didn't fit in because there were certain social cues I didn't understand, or people would look at me weird because there were certain things I didn't get, or things that like once there was like a pep rally and they were like, you don't know, like I thought you had to pay for a pep rally at some point. But the whole point is when I would feel all of this, instead of, just showing that I'm sad, I would kind of just isolate because I felt so alone, or like I had no one that could understand what I was going through on such a deep level. And there were some people that still didn't know that I was on the autism spectrum. And I would just isolate. I would continue to mask, or when I was at my private school, I would try to fit a certain thing so I felt like I could blend somewhere. And
Inclusion. Hmm?
I there was when I went to my private school with some of the other kids, I would kind of try to blend in that way. Um, because they had their own things and their own needs, and sometimes I felt because I was higher functioning and they weren't at that level yet, sometimes their needs would be put first or as a higher priority. And I even had some friends, and then I just felt left out because everyone anywhere kind of had their own groups, and then I felt like I was just in the middle and I didn't know where to go. And anytime I was in that situation, I would just completely isolate or mask and change different things, and that was very difficult for me, and sometimes it still is difficult.
And now, when it comes to that, do you need any type of accommodations to help you
Um,
overcome that
I
feeling, or is it something you've learned to deal with and grown with it? So the point where you know it doesn't affect you physically or
um
mentally, you just let it go.
to a certain degree, I've learned that there's nobody that is going to be exactly like me. And at some point, I realized that, like, there's not someone who's going to experience the exact same things I went through and the exact same circumstances. And we're going to be like, oh my God, we're at the same level or whatever. You know, and, um, um, like, I have counseling and, for counseling, I I get those accommodations through counseling. I talk to a therapist or someone. I had art therapy at some point. Then I had a counselor at my private school, and I'm going to hopefully get counseling when I go to public school again. That's one way that I get those resources. I get them from counseling, talking to someone trusted in a private setting, or sometimes I talk to someone who knows me deep down, like a close family member, like my aunt or my mom. Mainly my mom, because she's been my number one supporter and the top person I go to. Um, I'm very thankful for her because if it wasn't for her, I would not be here right now doing this. And, she didn't push me out of my comfort zone. I would not be here right now being a voice for the people that need that voice.
That's awesome. That is absolutely amazing. What is one thing that you want people to know?
Um, that no matter what, you can always have a voice. I'm right now here on a podcast, but there's other ways to communicate other than verbally speaking out. You could write. Um, Helen Keller is an amazing example because she went through life not being able to hear, not being able to see, and she did great. There's always a way to speak out. There's always a way to advocate, to be the best version of yourself and put it out there and make it known that you could have the same rights as everyone else. You could do incredible things at your own pace, in your own way, and it doesn't have to be the same that society expects of you. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm doing this and this and this because everyone's doing this and this at this and this time. And for a long time, I thought like I had to do everything a certain way. Like even with high school, I wanted to graduate with everyone else. And I almost did that, but I wasn't ready for that yet. And there were a lot of things I needed. And I honestly was too scared to, at some point, I was too scared to like admit, like, hey, because I was scared I was going to be looked down upon because of like I was always scared I was going to be seen as less than if I was more open about it or held back. But the me speaking up is a benefit. It's not something that is going to slow me down. It's just going to show how far I've come and how resilient I've become, and to inspire others. That the whole point of this podcast is so I could inspire others, um to be open about their musical interests and about their individuality.
And you sure are one very specific individual. But how did you come about discovering that you like to perform and
Oh
overcome
my
those
gosh.
obstacles that you have to face
Favorite.
compared to different people on stage and they're, as they were concerned, normal, and they're on there and they're singing and dancing? How do you manage to keep up with them and show them that you can do what they do, if not better?
I work at it. I work at it. I find other people, like resources, if it's for music or performance. I go to a teacher. I usually go to my aunt because she's a musical person. She's very good with music. She's a music teacher at a high school, and whenever I need something, I'll always go to her. Like, hey, how should I audition for this and this and this? And I just when it comes to that, I just have to stay very updated on what's like going on and like um
But what made you realize that you are a performer, that you like getting on stage, that you like singing?
What made me realize that when I was really young, I saw all these performers singing and like their way of um displaying such emotion and creating all these stories through their voice and putting themselves out there. That was I was like, dang, that's something I want to do. Like and it was mainly through singing. The first thing I remember when I realized I really really wanted to be a performer was when I saw a Broadway show, and um it was amazing, and the story was so heartfelt and so heartwarming, and the way it just captivated me, I was like, I want to be able to captivate and warm others' hearts as it did for me, or you know, be like while I'm singing, how certain songs reach people and they give a message to that person. I want to be able to do that, um and also do that for anyone who's neurodiverse, but with this talent that I have, with this musical passion that I have. And oh, pin fell. Autism is a unique superpower. That's what it says. Autism is not for everyone. Only those with unique superpowers can handle it. Anyway, yeah. um I really wanted to be a performer because I saw others putting themselves out there and having this captivating like presence and energy and this message, and I'm like, I want to do that with my voice. And then I just started singing.
I mean, I have seen you perform. I happen to be honored to be part of your entertainment for your Sweet 16. So I was there for the rehearsals. I saw how you practiced for your performance because you wanted to entertain your audience,
Yeah.
and you put on a great performance of "Time of My Life" with a friend, a colleague
Oh
who
yeah.
happened to also be on the spectrum.
Yeah, it's my best
Two
friend.
very different personalities. He was very, very energetic, and you kept to your role, but
Mm-hmm.
used to nail the song. How did you guys go about communicating it? And did you guys ever rehearse it in person? Because I know at one time you guys were rehearsing over video conference, and
That's
it make it. Most people can't do that on a regular basis, and you guys were able to pull it off and nail it. How was that process for you?
process was great. We were kind of just like, we're just gonna be ourselves, and that's kind of what we went with. So like, this is my best friend. Shout out Chris. He's an amazing performer. I love him. Best friend for 10 years. So yeah, we would just be on call, or we went to the same school at the time, and we would go to school, and we were in the same class, and we would talk about what we were gonna do and how he was gonna do it, and like it was just mainly video call, but there were times where like we would get together and be like, oh, this is how we're gonna do it. We kind of made like a bit of like a staging in a sense, like mapping it out, like
Now,
where we're gonna
is
go.
he also a performer, or was he somebody that was just willing to go out there and put himself out there?
Oh no, he's definitely a
Differently.
performer. He's definitely a performer. He does little shows on his porch, and I watch every single one on his live. He's like jamming it out. He's like, yeah,
Because I've seen you
same
transform.
energy.
When you were performing, you become a totally different person.
Yeah.
Spectrum aside, neurodiversity aside, you couldn't tell that if anybody would be looking at you from there, you couldn't tell that you were on the spectrum for either one of yous. It was just two passionate people performing. Do you feel that you're able to escape from the norm when you're performing?
That's what I love about it. I just feel once I sing, I'm in a completely different zone. I don't even remember what I do a lot of times where I perform, except very specific things, but I'm just in a completely different zone. It's like I escape and I just leave here and I'm in a different world. Like like a vivid dream, and I just perform. It's amazing.
That's awesome. I love to hear that you perform. Do you have anything that you could share with us?
Oh yeah, I have a poem that I wrote um about myself. I have it on my phone right here. Um, okay. It's called Rainbows in My Life. Rainbows in my life. I hate it when people say life isn't all rainbows, as if I don't get life isn't exactly great all the time, as if I believe what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine, as if going to school and getting good grades make everything fine, as if I don't struggle day to day to get up to rise and shine. My life hasn't been all rainbows, but I'll tell you one thing, regardless, I always look for those. My life has been filled with hardships and pain, with thunder and rain, with feeling insane. See, while I may have been too little to tell, into a deep, dark silence I quickly fell. Lost my language after my first birthday, a drastic change, those around me would say. Rain. No language, no eye contact, no way to say I'm not feeling well or to say I have pain. Rain. Massive outbursts, aggression, and therapists galore. So much life stuff to learn and explore. Suffering and distress. Little girl, your life is a mess. All my young life, I was basically in rehabilitation, early intervention. My treatment was no vacation, onlookers judging me, total humiliation. Rain. On one warm and typical day, as I ran up and down with my corky sway, I looked up and spotted a bird. Bird! Bird! Bird was my first word. I got my voice back. Rain. As the clouds began to subside, parts of me were coming alive. Peering through the clouds after the rain passed was the sun. There was so much fun to be had in the sun. But wait, what's this? A rainbow! A beautiful rainbow. It's what my life is. There's thunder and rain and sadness and pain, moments that are insane. But then the sun emerges, and that beautiful combination eliminates all the frustration, even if for a few moments, minutes, even a second, a new me is sure to go back in. Life is not all rainbows, but I can say 100% I totally look forward to many rainbows in my life. So that poem, oh, I love that one. That was the first one I did at an open mic, and I'd never performed a poem out loud, like live, but it's basically about, well, my mom wrote this one article. I forgot the title, but it was about rainbows. It was something very similar, and it inspired me to write it. And the bird part is also a bit of a backstory of how I said my first word. My first word was bird. Bird is the word, I guess. Yeah, it's one of my favorite poems that I've written. It basically means, like, when people say life isn't all rainbows, I know I've had hardships in my life. I've had difficulties in my life, but and I've had big things I've had to overcome, but I'm going to just keep going. I'm just going to keep being positive. I'm just going to keep pushing. So that's that from how I've read it and how I've written it. That's the story of it. That's what this one was about, and it was great. I loved reading it.
Thank you for that. I really admire you. I admire your personality. I admire your drive and your determination. It
Thank
is a
you.
beautiful thing, and you should be extremely proud of yourself.
Thank you.
I did want to ask you some questions. Earlier, we talked about talking about some truth and some myths.
Yeah.
What are some myths, Danny, that you think people have with people who are diagnosed with autism or a part of the neurodiversity community?
One of the myths I hear is usually that all autistic people are the same. What do you think about that?
That is not true at all. They are not the same.
What makes them different?
What makes them different is it's on the autism spectrum. It's a spectrum. As I mentioned before, it's not one specific physical appearance or perception that someone might have. So, as I said before, I used to be like this. I'm nothing like this. I've had cousins who are all completely different. So they are not all the same. We all have different needs. We all have different ways of expressing ourselves, and we're all at different levels and different paces. And that's completely fine.
Okay.
All right. How about I've heard people say that autistic people have no emotions.
That is false. Um, yeah, no, we are completely capable of expressing our own emotions. Expressing, oh my god, words. Expressing my own emotions. Um, everyone is, they're capable, especially. We just express it sometimes in a different way that others who aren't on the neurodiverse or who aren't on the autism spectrum might not understand. So, for me, when I feel a lot of stuff, I have a very high intensity. When I feel something, I will like vocalize it. And I have such a high sense of like justice or feeling sometimes when I really feel like I need to like say something. If I'm really upset about something that I don't agree with, I can be more intense than a typical person is. Or sometimes people express anger a different way, like someone who might be lower functioning on the autism spectrum. They might have behaviors because, or some who aren't verbal. Sometimes they're frustrated that they can't verbalize what they're feeling or they don't know how to communicate it. So they flip a table, they might hit themselves or throw something because they just need help figuring out how to communicate. And that's what all these specialists are for. And um they yeah, we all express emotions differently. It's not that we don't. It's just not in the same way that others may.
Because of the way they communicate, most people think that people with autism are going to be intellectually disabled or that they will never develop into normal society.
Uh yeah, that is also another common one that I strongly disagree with and dislike because as I mentioned before, there are many amazing influencers, people, figures in life that are on the autism spectrum. There was the creator of Pokemon. There was a bunch of people. Um, so yeah, they're um, not intelligent. They're like incredibly gifted. There are some that are incredibly gifted, like Beethoven. He's a music genius. So yeah, that's a huge misconception and myth. But we are just as smart as everyone else, if not smarter. We have a big passion. Um, there was this actually that reminds me. There was this. This is another example. There was this one really intelligent guy that I watched on Netflix, and he did a lot of technology like forensic stuff behind the scenes, and he figured out who the culprit was or how to get to this girl using the IP address to track it down. And he was on the autism spectrum, and they were like, he's the best one here. He's the best guy here. So that's also another example of when we're passionate about something, we can be the greatest.
Do you feel that once they find a passion, they zero in on that, and that's what makes them
Absolutely.
stand out? Because I've met several people that have certain passions. Some can draw, some
Absolutely.
can dance, some have the ability to, you know, figure out technology and master it better than most people can. And that's a great thing. Um, and with you, obviously, you've become very outgoing, very thing, which leads me to believe
Yeah.
that my next question would be that about autistic people being antisocial not be true, unless you're
That
the exception.
no. Um some people sometimes they just can't like they don't know how to communicate. I'm a very outgoing person, though a lot of times I find difficulties making new friends and I don't know how to approach someone and I don't just go up and be like, "Hey." I really think about it. I'm like, "Oh my god, what do I say? How do I don't know how to approach or make new friends. Sometimes that's a little difficult for me." And some people who might appear antisocial just have difficulties or they don't they don't know how to communicate, or they don't feel comfortable. They don't feel that safe space yet. Um,
It's just a comfort level.
Comfort
Once
level
they find their
sometimes.
comfort
A
level,
lot
it
of
helps
times
them.
I've seen that it's just a comfort level. It's not that they're completely antisocial. You got to give them that comfort. They got to find that comfort in someone or a group, and they could be social. Might not be to exactly an outgoing person like me, but they're not antisocial.
Okay. I like that. And also, you mentioned earlier about being in counseling and being in therapy, and there are different things that can be used as far as therapy is concerned,
Yeah.
such as music. You mentioned art therapy, there's equine therapy. There are different things that appeal to different people. What is something that has helped you in counseling or therapy that you would recommend to someone else?
I would recommend any sort of like music therapists, because there would be like some people who like, there was a guy who would bring in a guitar to my class that was very therapeutic for a lot of my classmates back when I was in private school. Um, and I would also recommend it also depends on what you're interested in and what counselor best suits you, because sometimes people who are neurodivergent or and mainly on the autism spectrum, they need to feel a connection with a certain therapist or someone that kind of understands them and their interests, that make them feel engaged and comfortable. um and for I would recommend like anyone who's like artsy, maybe having an art therapist. I have this one art therapist who's my favorite. I love her, I miss her. um but yeah, I'd recommend you just finding one that understands you and will give you that safe space.
And what does a safe space to you look like?
Um, it could be different for many people, but for me, something that's very calming, a very calming environment. Maybe something with different sensory toys for those on the autism spectrum who might need, like a little squishy thing, or sometimes a lot of people who are on the autism spectrum, like massage. I got attention here. You need a lot of massages or like things to help them calm down. I had this one occupational therapist that taught me like different things to release stress with my hands. Um, so yeah, different sensory therapy. Like there's like these a lot of people on the autism spectrum. They like those little ball pits or like those little like pit things. Those I would recommend like having a room with those.
Okay.
Those are great.
And what about when you're out in public and you're feeling a little overwhelmed and you need to do something relatively quick? How can you center yourself or find a safe space in that room?
Um, in that room, well, sometimes if I'm out in public, like if I'm on the street or if I'm walking or if I'm in school, a lot of times there aren't a lot of things to regulate immediately. Like I might not have a safe space like here. Like if I'm out, um, sometimes I recommend like just downloading something on your phone, like a calming game on your phone. That's a lot of times what I do, and I have my headphones on me still. Like I'll be playing music while I have my thing on my headphones. Then sometimes people find ways to regulate with their hands, like I'm doing right now. Um, then yeah, phone, or sometimes just taking a walk away from whatever is bringing that anxiety, that distress, or that like just find something calming, like a more calming environment. Like if like you need to walk like in a different direction, that's just like away from everything. You need to do that. You could definitely do that, or be on your phone, headphones. Yeah.
Okay.
Been looking at some of your pictures that you have around the room. I don't know how far back you may remember, but do you remember the first time, like when you said your first word was bird?
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall that moment? Do you remember what triggered it that you wanted to actually speak after so many years of
Oh,
not being nonverbal, or what triggered you
well,
to feel the comfort level to just speak up again?
I had a lot of early intervention, and with that, my mom would have people come over for like 4 hours, and they'd show these flashcards, and they'd show me like bird, and they'd show me the image of a bird and the word, or they'd show me different flashcards, and then I would start visualizing it and seeing it. And then one day I was just outside and I was like, oh my god, bird. Then that gave me that, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna talk.
It built up
It built
your
up
courage
something.
to actually speak up. Was it? Did you feel prior to that like any kind of insecurities or unease?
Um, Probably, yeah, possibly. Um, I do remember just like seeing the pictures really helped me. There was sometimes a difficulty visualizing. So seeing that and then having a lot of assistance really motivated me to push myself to be my greatest self and say that and speak.
Speaking to you now, you're very well versed. How is it for you to like learn? Because you've used some words that I know people on every day will never use or don't even understand what they mean. What are words to you now when you see the word? Could you comprehend the way you pick it up easily?
Um, yeah, I can comprehend. I can comprehend easily. There are some times where I do struggle, but I'm a word girl. Like my mom was also an English woman. I grew up around a lot of stuff, and I try to keep myself busy. Every now and then I read. I try to keep my brain going somehow. Um, to keep the development going.
It's good to know. Now, do you believe autism is visible on a person from an early age?
It's not always visible at an early age. There are some people that um, are very good at masking so that they could blend in with society, and so that like they could blend. And sometimes that's what I do when I don't feel safe in um, a neurotypical environment, and sometimes I'll just try to act as, I guess, normal, or whatever is perceived as normal, I guess, because I don't really see anything as normal now. So nothing really normal. Um, but yeah, a lot of times, sometimes people find out when they're adults because they just really wanted to blend in, and some of the physical signs weren't there. There were certain things like they really had to dig deep, and then there are some who have early signs, like when I did. I was diagnosed at 15 months. I was walking around my first birthday party, very all like outgoing, like I am now, and then all of a sudden, sometimes it just goes away. Like it just, all of a sudden, it stops, and then I went to no eye contact, couldn't speak, um, but it's all about.
And how old were you when you first started being vocal again?
Um, I was 3, I believe. I believe I was like 3.
You went for a good year and a half unable to
Yeah.
get your emotions out there.
Mhm.
Do you remember what it felt like?
I don't remember all of it, but my mother said I was not really a happy camper. I used to throw stuff. I was like the Tasmanian devil.
Of course.
She had me on a leash
It must be
because I
frustrating.
would run around, and I could just imagine myself like if I couldn't speak now, I would be so angry. Like, oh, I wanted that peanut butter sandwich. My mom ate it. Like, I want it, and then I throw the table. Like, um, yeah. Some people they don't see it until later on, and sometimes it's also about the support group you have and who wants to help you get better. So like, if you don't even know what's going on, your parents or the guardians around you have to be like, hey, I want to help my kid, or I want to not help, but like I want to make my kid the best they can be. I want to see what's going
You've
on.
definitely been blessed to have a good support system.
Yes, I was blessed with a good support system, family, schooling, friends. Sometimes.
They never treated you any kind of different. Always very inclusive.
Yeah, my family was very, very inclusive, very, very tight together. They were very, very family oriented. Family oriented. Yes.
It's helped you come a long way.
Yeah.
Do you feel going forward, do you know what it is that you want out of life? Like, are you ready to venture out in the world? Okay, so you're repeating your senior year, not
Yeah.
because you failed or anything, it's because you chose to.
I felt like I needed another year to see what it was like in public school full time, because as I mentioned, I was part time in both.
And the program you're involved in allows you to repeat for as many times as you feel
Uh,
comfortable.
yeah, this is the yeah, at Union City High School. Yep. Um, and yeah, for my journey, um, I've been trying to find ways to where I can incorporate my musical passion, but still also make money. I don't want to be broke. um, so I was like, oh, I want to be on Broadway. I want to be a Broadway performer. But I really thought, I'm like, how am I gonna make money first, though? So I started looking into the technical aspects of theater and all of that, and mainly music. So I was looking into sound production and music engineering. I'm like, I love that. How do I do all that technical stuff with all the DJing and all that awesome stuff with the music? It could also
Very expensive, but yes, you can do it.
it could help me be self-sufficient if I do end up getting out there. I know some behind the scenes stuff. Like I know what's happening.
You need that exposure.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be a singer. You don't want to just be an actor. You want to be multifaceted. You want to be able to do behind the scenes.
Yes.
Most actors, as after their glory days, they become directors and producers. They stay behind the scenes, but the money keeps coming in. Do you see yourself doing that?
Yeah, I've become very interested with the directing aspect of things as well.
You got your first podcast going on now.
Yeah.
And
I
you
might
still have
look into some
your
more.
entire life ahead of you.
It's my first one. I'm feeling good about it actually.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. This was very informative. It was very eye-opening, and I look forward to see what you're going to continue to do in the future and keep going, keep striving.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for having me here.
Thank you for having
us. It was
us.
awesome to have two people. If I was just
I can say I knew Startism back then.
Startism, yeah. This is awesome.
How can we follow you? What do you have any handles on Instagram, YouTube? Do you have an email?
Yeah. Guys, if you want to follow me, first of all, thank you so much for joining us on this very great beginning of our journey. If you want to follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at Startism. And because I want it to be different, I'm going to spell it out for you guys. At Startism. STARTIISM. At Startism. Because I had to add 2 eyes because someone already had 1 eye on TikTok. But anyway, be sure to follow me. Keep me updated. If you guys want to email me and reach out, my Gmail is at spectrumoftalent@gmail.com. And yeah, thank you guys on this amazing journey.
I just have one more question for you.
Yeah.
What do you say to people that are on the spectrum? They're going to be hearing you on your podcast and watching you, and they see you perform and they want to be just like you. Because you're as young as you are, you're still going to have people that are going to admire you for every step you take.
I hope I can be someone that anyone on the autism spectrum can look up to. I hope this could be a space for anyone who is interested in music, in anything related, like music, mainly music, because that's my niche. Anyone who is interested in just like anything like instruments or singing, anything in the arts, or anyone who knows someone who's on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum. If you just want to be more informed about it, this is a great place. If you want to reach out and be like, hey, I'm right here. You could do that. That'd be great. I hope I could be eye-opening, and I hope I could be inspiring. I hope I sent a good message out today. I hope that people seeing this are inspired to be a voice, inspired to reach out, and inspired to share their unique stories, their amazing stories, break even more stereotypes, and just be awesome. Keep going.
And you definitely are. You're showing that you can live a full, active, independent life, despite what people may think. You know, it's hard to understand when you're not going through it. But you're showing that it's just an obstacle that you may have to overcome that someone may not, but it can be overcome. You can live a full life. You can be,
You are just as
insociable.
capable. Yeah.
It's good to know.
It's great. Like, yeah, you're just as capable of doing amazing things as anyone else. Don't ever forget that. Don't forget that you are a star and you could go many places. You could go as far as you want. And just keep doing what you love. Keep speaking up, no matter how well, be safe, but like push yourself out of that comfort zone. Put yourself out there. Be proud to say that you're a neurodiverse and you are on the autism. Be proud, and you're gonna go places. 'Cause no one is like you. I hope you all had a great time ahead in Brilliance. I hope I could inspire you guys and keep showing that brilliance. Keep shining your light.
Hey, bye, everybody.
April and Danny!